program several years ago, 3 years ago. After 20 years of teaching, I'm a single mom of a 12-year-old child. She was 9 at the time, and I'm the sole support and sole income earner for our family. So it was very important to me that I do a part-time program, that I could actually work while I was studying and set my own hours. Even though it's part-time, when you're working and raising a family, what most of us are, it's a lot of work, and it is a graduate level program, and I think it's a surprise to a lot of people just how much work it is. I don't know how full-time students do it to get the reading and assignments done, but when you have a full life with jobs and kids and your own things going on, parents to look after, it's a lot of work. So the first year, I learned a lot about how to study online, how to prioritize things. They talk about prioritizing a lot, but it's not until you're actually in the trenches that you realize that sacrifices have to be made. And for me, a lot of it was my spare time. I didn't have time to Facebook or play on the computer or to watch as much TV or read. I lost most of my for pleasure reading time because I was so immersed in reading the materials provided for the courses. And my friends and family really had to learn over 3 years that every minute of my time was precious. And if I said I've got 2 hours to meet with you, I meant I had 2 hours. And I kept on telling myself, it's worth it, and it's only for 3 years. And at the very beginning, before I ever started the course, somebody said to me, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm planning to go back to school for my MSW, but I'm scared because it's 3 years, and it's a 3-year commitment. And she looked at me and she said, you know what, 3 years is going to go by, and at the end of that, you'll either have a degree, or 3 years will have gone by and you have nothing still, and you're still waiting to get a job. And I took that as serious, and it's amazing how quickly those 3 years do go by. But it's hard, and there are sacrifices.
Yeah. Well, so I had to sacrifice the weekend day, unfortunately, because especially with the semesters where I have the internship, in order for me to fulfill those hours and my work schedule, it means that I kind of have to shorten down the amount of just like personal free time that I have. So I work on Sundays, which isn't ideal, but it allows me to have the evenings on the weekdays open to do homework, and it also allows me to get out of work earlier during the week so that I can pick up my daughter from school. So there are some sacrifices, but it's been 3 years now that I've been doing it, and it's worked out just fine. And I think aside from that, usually like I don't really get to kick back on weeknights. Like once my daughter's in bed, I spend probably around 3 or 4 hours every night getting coursework done. But yeah, it's definitely, there's some sacrifices in terms of how much downtime I have, but I try to make sure that I make up for it on the 2 days that I do kind of specifically focus on like self-care and time for myself.
Google Calendar. If you don't have a Google Calendar set up, please set that up, because it has been the most invaluable tool I've had. Plus, you can make notes on your Google Calendar. You can set reminders, like, oh, I need to research this, or I need to look specifically at this piece of work. That's been such an invaluable tool. Motivation's a tough one, to be honest. You encounter so much work, and you kind of get a little discouraged at some points. You get overwhelmed with all the readings that you have to do. And I think what keeps me motivated is finding that balance, between work, between school, and between life. You still need to make a little bit of time for yourself, and enjoying the small things of it. So maybe it's just being able to sip your morning cup of coffee without having to do anything.
Sort of sit down at the beginning of the week and look at the chunks of time that I know I'm going to have available to work on assignments, and just really plan out specific things that I'm going to get done and when I'm going to do them. Something I've also found really helpful is being aware of what my habits are as a student. So am I more likely to work ahead with a particular type of class or material, or am I more likely to procrastinate, and how is that going to fit in with my life?
I would say really kind of know what allows you to work. So I feel like really knowing what kind of level of organization that you need and also, specifically like how you study and how you learn is really important, because this is so much more self-directed than, a seated degree. You really have to be able to kind of direct yourself sometimes and be aware of what your learning style is. I know personally, I think I've become much more organized throughout this program in a really good way, very beneficial for myself. I've really learned, if I don't put something in my calendar, if I don't go through the syllabus at the very beginning of the semester and put every single assignment in the calendar and even give myself reminders a week ahead of time to start working on something, I'm not going to be successful as I want to be.
Discussion posts and the assignments all guide my reading. So I read the discussion post or the assignment first, and then I kind of try and read what's necessary in order to tailor the amount of reading.
I think the first, the foundation year was a little bit difficult. I had to change my work hours a little bit, and I had to kind of be a little bit more flexible in terms of childcare. It was a little hard. This time around, I think it's a little bit easier just because I kind of was already prepared to be a little bit flexible in my work schedule and my job itself. They're aware that I'm getting my master's degree, and I've been pretty good at communicating, their expectations of me as well as my needs while I'm in this program.
I was having firsthand experience with learning all of the social work skills such as empathy, active listening, play therapy with some clients. I did some anger management. So I really was cognizant of the skills that I was learning in interventions 1 and 2 into my field placement. And interventions 2 is about groups. So I was actually co-facilitating dialectical behavior therapy group at my field placement. So I was able to utilize a lot of the skills that I was learning interventions 2 into this group.
Being very proactive for yourself and advocating for yourself. I think it was uncomfortable for me at first to feel like I could reach out to a professor and say, I don't really understand this, because it's a little bit more formal than just kind of stopping them at the end of the class and just saying, hey, can you clarify? It's more like sending an email. I don't know, it feels a little bit more uncomfortable for me at first, but I really appreciated that, and I think that it's helped me to realize how engaged the professors are.